Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop with a quick answer to a common question we get all the time. Today's question is, how do I find a fence installer? Now here at Iron Fence Shop, we are big believers in our do-it-yourself folks and try our best to educate and help them out with tackling their project. However, not everyone has the time, skills, or wants to do their own fence installation. At Iron Fence Shop, we only supply and ship the fence countrywide. So where do you find an installer if you aren't looking to do it yourself? Now, if you've dealt with a home remodel or contractors in general, you know it can be a mixed bag of good ones versus bad ones. And sadly, the bad ones tend to outnumber the good ones. I could bore you for hours on end with nightmare installer stories I've heard from my customers. So let's go over 5 items to consider and what information to have on hand when looking for someone to install your iron or aluminum fence. Item number 1, what kind of company do I look for? Now, you're probably thinking, well, duh, a fence company? Most cities have several. And while that can be a valid option, it's not your only option or the one I typically point people towards. Companies that specialize in fence installation may only do certain types of fence and not want to install an iron or aluminum fence. Others may not want to install a fence they're not selling directly to you and making money on the back end. Some areas just have terrible local fence guys or no local fence guys at all. So what are some other types of contractors or companies that can install an iron or aluminum fence for you? My favorite alternative option is a landscaping company. Not necessarily the guys that just cut grass, but the ones that do design work and can also build decks, retaining walls, patios, so on and so forth. Those companies have skill sets that translate perfectly to fence installation. They're also typically more open to you bringing them a fence option from someone like us, rather than you requiring them to go find one for you. Another option is the jack-of-all-trades handyman services that have popped up with franchises all around the country now. We've also had customers use family, friends, general maintenance staff, electricians, painters, and carpenters, just to name a few, to install our fence for them. Anyone handy that can read the instructions we provide can tackle installing our iron or aluminum fence. If you have a company or person interested, but they're not sure if they can do it, have them call us and pick our brains on any install questions they have. Unlike most fence manufacturers, we don't mind answering questions and helping someone figure out if they feel comfortable installing our fence and gates. Item number 2, how do I find a good install company? Let's say you've identified a few different local companies. Now comes the hardest part. How do you find out which ones are good? Now I will say word of mouth is always going to be your most powerful tool. Word of mouth tends to be a little bit more direct and honest than something online sometimes. Ask around if anyone has used the company before and if they can tell you a little bit about their experience or their project. Any contractor worth their salt should have references they can provide you. Next up would be looking for some online reviews or testimonials. Do they have any testimonials on their direct website? How about ratings on Google, the Better Business Bureau, or Facebook? In this day and age, it's tough not to have some kind of presence online out there in terms of reviews and ratings. When it comes to ratings, spend a little time reading through them. Don't assume 5 stars is a winner and maybe a 2 to 3 star one is an automatic loser to avoid. I've seen 5-star rated companies that only have 1 to 2 reviews that sound like they came from the owner's cousin. Or they have many reviews, but they have the cadence and feel of a fake or bot-generated review system. Sometimes a lower rated contractor may have just had a vindictive customer or someone trying to poison their ratings. By reading through the ratings, you should get a feel for the company. 100 5-star reviews that all sound like great job with no job details or specifics would be a red flag to me. A 3-star rating with many good reviews, but a couple bad ones, can be customers having unreasonable expectations or even something as silly as them not understanding how to do an online rating. I've seen multiple times where a 1-star rating that should be the worst had comments below it that were nothing but positive. Weird stuff can happen with online ratings that are not representative of the company. Use them as a tool, but not your only full deciding factor. Lastly, do they have any affiliations? For instance, are they a member in good standing with the Better Business Bureau? Do they have ratings and reviews on places like Angie's List or Home Advisor? Do they belong to an organization like the American Fence Association? I would try to use a mix of all of these to look at potential installers versus going off one alone if you can. Item number 3, what information do I need to provide them? Okay, you found an installer you want to feel out. What information should you have on hand to provide them when you go to contact them? Preparedness is key here, as calling someone with details versus a generic request will help the installer realize you are serious and not just window shopping. Calling an installer and asking how much installing a fence costs is like calling a car dealership and asking how much a car costs. Details matter. While you don't have to have all these details finalized or chosen, these are my 4 recommendations for info you should have prepared for a potential installer to show you're serious and that you've done some homework. First up is the type of fence you're interested in. You being interested in iron or aluminum fence versus wood or chain link fence can garner different answers. Try to narrow down the type of fence you want as best you can, or at least narrow it to 1 or 2 options. Second, think about the height and grade of fence you're interested in. The effort and crew to install a lightweight 3-foot tall aluminum fence may be different than what's required to install a 6-foot tall commercial grade iron fence. Knowing the height of the fence and if it's a residential or commercial application helps give that potential installer some context to go off of. The third item is a total linear footage for the project. Most installers are going to want an idea on how much fence they're going to be putting in for you. Linear footage is a unit of measure in a straight line. In other words, where the fence is going to run. You need to have some vague idea on what this number is by either walking off or measuring where the fence will go. Offering to send a survey or quoting square footage or acreage will not give the installer a clear idea on how much fence you need installed versus a linear footage. Our last bit of info here is the number and size of gates needed. Gates require more install work than fence panels, so knowing that you have 1 gate in your layout versus 6 of them can make a difference to an installer. If you have a driveway gate as part of your fence project, know how wide your driveway is. There is no common or standard driveway width across the US. They may not install driveway gates, or maybe they're fine installing driveway gates at 12-foot wide, but not something that's 20-foot wide. Having some gate details is always going to be beneficial as it is a little bit different part of the project. Being able to provide those 4 bits of project information are more likely to make a potential installer take you more seriously and want to try working with you. Hearing a specific set of parameters they have to work with versus, I want a fence but I have no idea how much or what type, is gonna net you better results. Item number 4, discuss payment terms and scheduling. If it's looking like you found someone you may want to use, be sure to discuss details and requirements on payment and scheduling. Beware of guys trying to request full payment up front or pressuring you into making a decision right away. Payment terms are typically a down payment of the total project cost, usually around 50%, and then the remaining portion due later. Be sure to ask what forms of payment they accept and if there are any additional fees involved. A cash payment price may vary from a credit card payment price. Be sure to ask what is covered for that price too. Will they clean up the area afterwards, such as taking away or grading post-hole dirt? Will they stuff your garbage cans with all the packaging and concrete bags, or will they haul that away for you? Does the price include all needed materials, rentals, and costs? If permitting is required, are they filing and paying for that, or is it your responsibility? Try to get a clear understanding on what is included in the price that they're giving to you. In addition to payment, be sure to discuss scheduling and availability as well. Some installers may be booked months out if you're late to the spring-summer install period. To be honest, the good ones are often the ones that are booked out a bit. However, that could be a deal breaker for you right off the bat. Don't wait until you've given them money to find out it'll be 3 months before they can come back out. Also, be sure to ask how long it will take. Is it a 1-day installation, or is it going to require 3 separate visits out to the job site? What time do they start and finish each day? Are you scheduling the delivery and offloading of the fence shipment, or are they doing that? Lastly, ask what the process is to handle something going wrong. If you aren't satisfied with the install work or something is damaged, who do you talk to and how do they handle those situations? Rolling into final item number 5, trust your gut. The last consideration when looking for an installer is trusting your gut. This can mean multiple things, but if something feels off, trust that instinct. You should feel like the installer understands your project and wants to work with you. If they aren't calling or emailing back or taking a long time to do so, chances are it's going to be that way through the entire project. Communication is key, and in a world of phones, emails, and text messages, getting a reply back within 24 hours Monday through Friday is not a crazy expectation. If you feel like you didn't trust the person, they didn't seem knowledgeable, or you just didn't hit it off, ask yourself if that is someone you feel comfortable working with and paying for on a project like this. Do you feel like they understood your project wants and needs? Did they ask questions or offer suggestions or solutions for problem areas? Did it seem like they were looking at your yard and trying to help address and solve any potential install issues? While it's hard to quantify, not vibing with or trusting your installer is likely going to continue through the project and lead to confrontations or disappointment in the end. If your gut tells you that person is not going to be good to work with, move on. So to wrap things up, use those 5 parameters in your search for an iron or aluminum fence installer. Going in with some ideas on what to look for and as many details on the project as possible is the best way to be prepared. Folks that leave everything up to the installer can often get burned and taken advantage of. The more details you have on the desired fence product and the installation job itself, the better the questions and answers you and that potential installer can work through. If we can help with any other questions about finding a potential fence installer, give us a call at 800-261-2729 or shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com. We look forward to helping you with your project.